Good evening. Let me know when you're here, please, as per usual. And then I know that I'm set up and that I can start. Rearranging things a little bit. Sorry about the noise. I've got my iPad on my desk and it's not very secure, so I'm just placing that somewhere where it's going to be safe. Is anyone here? Anyone at all? Let me know if you're here and I'll get started. That glare is not ideal, is it? Hello Penny, how are you? I'm just waiting to see if anyone else joins Penny, but I think it's looking likely that I'm just going to make a start. Otherwise we'll be waiting all night. Oh, I'm glad you can hear, Penny, thank you. Yeah, I never know. I never know if I've set up. I'm using a new app to record today as well. And I've set up landscape as opposed to portrait mode. So it's all a little bit new. Right, I am going to get started. I don't want to keep any of you longer than necessary. So I do apologise for the glare from the ring light up above, but hopefully once we've applied some ink, that shouldn't interfere too much. So I am going to be working with the Gelliplate today. I have experimented, so I've got an idea of where I want to go and what I want to do with it. I never used to really be one for mixed media work. I guess this counts as mixed media. But I'm beginning to love it more and more and getting more and more confident with the Gelliplate, although still very new and basic. However, I do like the outcome of what I managed to create. So when I experimented yesterday, these are what I produced using the Gelliplate. Annoyingly, this flower on this one I stamped upside down. I'm hoping that a recipient wouldn't necessarily notice that. And then this one. So you can see that they are very similar apart from that error. However, this one was using a resist emboss technique whereby I stamped and embossed in clear embossing powder prior to using the Gelliplate, and that was the outcome. And also I splashed some water on this one, hence you can see a few little marks there, a few little bubbles and poolings. This one I actually prefer. This is a much sharper finish, And I just reversed the process this time round. Hello Maddie, how are you? Thank you ladies for joining me. So what I did with this one, I used the Gelliplate first. Then I went over it with white embossing, stamped it, went over it with white embossing, and I much prefer the finish to this one. It's much sharper, and I didn't use the water splatters on that one. So what I'm going to do tonight, same technique, but I am going to use a different stamp just to change it up a little bit. Oh, I'm glad Maddie. Yeah, I'm going to use this focal image and then one of my sentiments. Hopefully all goes to plan, but you know what these lives are like. They never quite do go to plan, do they? So what I'm going to do is, I may have just said this, forgive me for repeating myself. I am going to do both techniques again tonight, so producing two. We may or may not finish them and get them onto cards. We'll judge time as we come closer towards, as time goes on. But yeah, so I'm going to change the colours up, change the stamp and see how we get on. Hello Mandy, how are you? So I'm going to change up the colours tonight, and I am going to be using a spectrum similar to these. We've got picked raspberry, wilted violet and blueprint sketch in that order. So for that I need a brayer, and that's all I need at this point. I'm going to bring my basket of goodies over and let's go. So I think I always like the darkest colour at the bottom, because otherwise it feels like, to me, my eye, it looks like it's outweighing the bottom, the lightest colour. So I'll go with the picked raspberry for the top. So I'm just going to move those so that they don't get messy in the process. That's all right, Mandy, never late. You're here and that's what's important, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm just going to pop that back under there so it's out of the way. So all I'm going to do is, with the fact that I'm using three colours in mind, I'm going to apply the three colours equally on my Gelliplate. We don't need to take over the whole plate, just enough to be able to cover a piece of card. So I have prepped the card as per usual. So let's go ahead and get one of those out. So I'll need to do it again. I've gone for the standard A6 size. So I need to ensure that I've covered the Gelliplate enough to cover this card when I take the print. So you'll want to give, I'm not too sure, oh, where have I got that from already? Look, I am a mucky pup. So you don't want to be too, there's no precision, just a good coverage of your ink, and then just go across. Now what I did find was the firmer you push onto the Gelliplate, the cleaner the imprint. If you're too gentle, it can be quite bobbly. If you are much firmer with it, it gives a much firmer, a much cleaner impression. So you just go across your Gelliplate and then lift at either end. And then I will need to wipe that down prior to going in with my next colour. Hello Jane, how are you? Oh no, please don't apologise for being late, ladies. It's just lovely to have you here. Thank you. So then the next colour I'm going to go in with would be the wilted violet. Now obviously this is far more than a third, but that's what we want. It's because we need the colours to blend. I'm just going to get some kitchen roll and wipe that. I think I've left that a little bit wet. Okay, so as per the previous colour, pick up your colour, and you do want to overlap the previous colour, going quite firm, and that'll do nicely. I'm just going to wipe my brayer in between each application, just so that we get a better blend. Obviously you don't need to be told while I'm wiping the brayer, do you? And what we will do afterwards, we'll come back and we'll just blend them colours a bit better with each of the previous colours. So I'll show you what I mean when it comes to it. And then finally we'll go in with the blueprint sketch. So pick up the colour and then overlap the middle colour, the previous colour, and then push down quite firmly. For the look that I'm looking for, I'm pushing firmly because I want the sharper look. However, the beauty of the gel plates is that there's no right or wrong. If you want more texture in your final image, then by all means apply less pressure, and I find that gives you more bubbling and thus more texture in the final look. And then what I'll do with each of those is, between the first and the second, I'll go back in with the first colour and very lightly just go back over where the two colours blend. And then do the same with the last two colours. Go in with the middle colour, which was the wilted violet, and where the second and third colour meet, we'll go in with the second colour, and just go back and forth, just ensuring that both of them colours overlap each other to some degree, and that should give them a nice blend. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that aside for now. We are going to come back to do another bit of brayering afterwards to show you the two different outcomes. So what I'll do is I'll do the white embossed first, because I've done this in the wrong order. I'm not sure how long this will hold on here, but that's not a problem. So actually what I'm going to do then, in that case, I'm going to go straight on with my piece of card, lay it so that it picks up as much of all of the colours as possible, and then just give that a good press down. This part does get messy. Anyone has any fast and hard tips of getting rid of the ink off your hands, please let me know, because I was rather messy yesterday and did struggle to get rid of much of the colour prior to the school run. But it's all in good fun, isn't it? So once you've pushed that down and picked up the colour, and peel your card back, we've got something that looks like that. So you see it's quite bobbly, but this is the beauty of the Gelliplate. You never know what you're going to get, and we do like a bit of texture, but I'll show you how you can combat some of that as well. So for this one, I said I'm going to use the white emboss on this one. So I'm just going to clean my Gelliplate somewhat. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be using it again and the same colours. So all good in the hood. I'm just going to pop that aside somewhere that it's not going to get mucky and risk falling onto the floor. So this is what we have, which I like the texture at this point. And I'm going to use the Altnu Paint a Flower Magnolia Rustica Rubra, or Rubra. I'm not very good with flowers, I'm afraid, so I apologise about the pronunciation of that last word there. I've never actually heard of that, to be honest. Where's my... There we go. So, I'm going to take my acrylic block. I normally would use a stamping platform, just to err on the side of caution. not particularly fussed, to be honest, about this one, but I do want to make sure that I've got it the right way up. So that looks like it's the right way up. Well, it was that way up on the stamp sheet, so that might be useful to go by. There we go. Okay, fine. So what I am already seeing, this is already quite large for my stamps, so we will be tight for space, but we'll make it work. So that will fit on there. So what I want to do prior, I might just go over that, blast it with some heat. So excuse the noise. I'm back with my trusted heat gun. I couldn't tolerate the other one, so it might be a bit noisier. Here goes. I love these colours. Really pretty colours. It is dry already, but I just want to help it along. And then what I'll do is I'll just go over it with my just going to get a piece of scrap paper. I'll go over it with my anti-static, just to err on the side of caution. There we go. So light colour top. Let's get rid of that. And then get my embossing ink out. We're going white for this one, so I'm going to go with this beast. This is a really large tub. I bought this one to make my own embossing powders, but we'll see how we get on with this one. So we've prepped the card. Let's get to the stamp now. So just making sure that I give this a good enough coverage over the whole stamp. Ideally we don't want to miss any, but we shan't cry. It's only a demo, so if it doesn't work, we've still gained. And then just go in, find a location centrally enough to pick up as much of the stamp. I think two small areas might get lost, but that's fine. And I need to leave a space up the top for part of my sentiment. So I'm going to be using, I'm sorry for what I said when, so I'm going to need a larger area at the bottom, and then I think I'll go with, I had a cob on, sorry, larger space at the top, and then I had a cob on needs a smaller space. So with that in mind, I'm going to bring it down further than I would up, to allow for more space for the larger part of the sentiment up the top, and then just give that a good impression. Oh, this really does, this is really trying on your hands, isn't it, with these, pushing these stamps down and getting the most out of them. That's already hurt my finger, my little finger. Right, so I'm just going to wipe that. Oh, my, I've made that quite mucky from the brayer, but that's fine, I'll clean it afterwards. Now I want to go over that, don't I, with the white emboss. I'm going to flip this. I have got loads, but lots of these, but I am very frugal, as you know, so yeah, that's on the other side. I have noticed that that black area there is interfering. Some of it sheds and goes onto my white projects. Okay, so I'm just going to cover the whole area, actually. That way we know that it's fully covered. I'll flip it over and go over the other side, because I am conscious that that image did go edge to edge, so I don't want to risk missing any. Oops, any areas. I think that's part of the image, that's not powder. I think we can work with that, so I'm going to heat set that. Let's get rid of this. And I'm going to go in now and heat set that, so excuse the noise. Fortunately, as noisy as it might be, it does work much faster, so more noise, but lesser amount of time. Once this is done, we'll ascertain how sharp and how crisp the image is, and if we feel as though we need to brighten it all up, I'll show you how I personally get round that. It's incredible, isn't it, how you think you can have a style, but how much that style changes over your crafting career. I used to absolutely hate, actually I take that back, I didn't hate mixed media. I loved other people's take on mixed media, their projects made with mixed media. However, I could not succeed for love nor money. I'm typically a very clean and simple style, lots of white space, but that style has definitely evolved, and I really do appreciate mixed media and thoroughly enjoy getting messy now and experimenting. I never really used to experiment. I think I was always so worried about waste of time and resources, but now a lot of my time is spent actually experimenting. I've missed a piece there. Yeah, I think that's done it. So that's how we're looking just now. This is a really quick and easy technique as well. So if you wanted to batch make, actually not batch make, I don't suppose this is ideal for batch making with regards to the Gelliplate. However, if you wanted to make something up quick and easy, then this is fabulous. So then what I'm going to do is go in with my sentiment. So this is from the Narky Sentiments, which is part of the new release. Sorry, that's not focusing, is it? However, we'll crack on. So as I said, I have picked out what sentiment I want to use. So this is in 2 parts as per the design of the stamps. So I'm going to go for I'm sorry for what I said when, and then I had a cob on. So I've already allowed for the space. The top part allows for the larger part of the sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Hands feel a little bit, feels like they've got some powder on. We don't want that transferring because the stamp won't stick and it won't stamp too well. Okay, right, so again, same embossing ink, just going over my sentiment, and then bringing this towards me a little bit, but I hope I'm still in good enough shot. I'm just going to curl that back a little bit because it's not sitting flat. That'll do, that's better. It's not sitting flat and that risks it not stamping straight. So I'm just going to pop this top left, and we can only hope that this one has stamped straight, because unlike what I normally do and put them on a piece of card, I can't do that this time round. There's no going back. Once it's done, it's done. So before applying the embossing powder, I'm going to stamp the second part of that. So I'm going for I had a cob on. I'm not sure if I had a cob on is very much a southern term or a northern term. I went on holiday many years ago and got talking to a lady there, and she was having a moan about her children, and she referred to one of them as having a cob on. That was the first time I'd ever heard it. Fell in love with the term. Yeah, I really like it. It's very tame. So I've used it myself many years since then, and of course it goes without saying I had to apply it to a stamp when the opportunity arose. So now I've stamped both of those, I will apply the embossing powder to them. straight enough. I don't think it's 100%, but it looks as though I may have gotten away with that one. And this one, that's looking okay as well. I'm just going to, I don't know why it's just calling me for more. Right, okay, I need to stop messing around. Oh, wouldn't be me without making a mess, would I? I can't stand that, the embossing powder. It just sticks, doesn't it? It gets everywhere. It's awful. Bleh. I can't use my cloth to clean it because I need that cloth and it will transfer. Right, just going to heat set these 2 sentiments. Beautiful. That's actually nice and crisp. Not entirely visible, but as I say, I'll show you how we can enhance that. So that's how we're looking at the moment. I don't know why that's not focusing. I do apologise. If I hold it long enough, it might grab. No. Oh, apologies. I'm so sorry. That won't. It won't focus. So it's not. It is okay. It is clear enough. But I will show you how we can enhance the white on there, certainly the sentiments, so that they are a little bit more clearer. So using the same colours that we've used, first of all we'll go in with, in actual fact I'm going to use brushes for this. That's how I used it that's how I did it previously. So let's bring in some scrap paper again. So we'll use the same colours that we used on the Gelliplate. So the first one, we've got the picked raspberry. So I'll use my pink brush for that one. And then all we do is pick up the colour as we would any other way, and then just bring that onto the card, or onto the image. So what this does is it enhances the colour without losing any of the detail from the Gelliplate. So I'll pop that one aside. I'll go in with the purple, which was the middle colour. Start off of the image. And then just take that back into the middle, overlapping the previous colour and the next colour as we go. So the 2 colours either side and that one we're overlapping. And then I'll pop that aside. Now we want a blue. There we go. That is really annoying. Why have I used a blue on a green brush? Right, so the blue, that's where we'll go in, the blue. And we'll just go in with our last colour. And just blend in as we would any other time. So then I'm going to drag that even more so up to the colour, the previous colour, the purple. Blend those 2 colours together, go back in with the purple, same again, drag that over the blue, and then I'll flip that for ease. And this time we want to go back in with more of the pink, just emphasising the blend there with the purple, going back more over the purple, and then again with the purple, lightly taking it over the pink. Now you can already see, hopefully, that has really enhanced the colour. But just for safekeeping, I'm using a dry brush, a dry microfiber cloth, which I use for cleaning my brushes. And then we'll just go over our white embossed areas, and that just removes any ink that's sitting on top, because that now becomes non-porous and any ink will just sit on top, and then we can remove it over the sentiment at the bottom. Now I'm going to attempt to show you again, although there does seem to be a problem with the focus there. Yeah. Oh, that is so frustrating. Why won't it focus? Well, I'm very sorry. I really am sorry that just doesn't seem to want to focus, but I will, you get the idea, and I will certainly put the picture up afterwards so that you can see how sharp the colour now is. So I'm going to apply that to a card blank. So I have prepped, I've got mucky fingers and it's getting all over my card blanks. So hopefully I can get away with that and use the reverse. So it looks like that one was for that. And I'll go in with some double-sided tape, I think, for this. And there's not really any dimension to this, but that is fine because that saves us on our postage cost, doesn't it? So if we're sending it in the posts, that will work in our favour. So just going all round with me double-sided tape. Hopefully I can remove this, and we're not here all evening agonisingly trying to get the tape, the cover off. And then just some in the middle there, just so that there's no bowing and that it's got a good grip. So I'm just pressing that down, making sure it's all stuck down. That makes life easier when it comes to removing the backing. I'm going to use my craft knife, and then I'm just going to not fully remove it, just only remove part of that tape, and then fold the paper to the outside. I'm sure many of you do this already, but if not, you'll see why I've done that in a moment. The middle part you can fully remove because you won't be able to get to that anyway. Let's get rid of that one. And then the last one. And then by leaving those still available for me, we can pop that down without the risk of it permanently sticking. Well, first time lucky that. And once you're happy with it, press down where you know some of the tape is, where you have removed some of the tape, and then you can go ahead and start removing the parts that we've left over hanging there. There we go. And that is our first card done. So what I'll do is I'll show you, if you don't mind, I'll show you how to do the emboss resist technique, and then you've got two, they're very, very similar looks, and then you can use either one of those techniques yourself. I'm looking for my scrap pot and it's right in front of me. Right, so with this technique, let's bring in my scrap paper again. We want to stamp the card first, but this time with clear embossing powder, although white embossing powder would probably give the same effect. You're welcome, Penny. It's one I've recently learned, but it really changes things. Ah, thank you, Mandy. So we've got our card cut ready to go onto our A6 card blank, and then we're going to, I've splashed some water on this one as well, so we get some different, a very different look to the previous one. So we're just going to go in with our embossing ink as before. And then, oopsie, making sure that's the right way up. Locate where we want that placed. And then we'll impress that. Do you know, actually, that might be a bit mucky because I didn't clean my stamp again, did I? And that ink may have transferred. No, I think we're safe. So I'm going to be a bit... Actually, no, what I am going to do is I'm going to apply my embossing powder at this stage. So we want clear. So let me just switch over my embossing powders. So this is just a detail embossing powder from Creative Expressions. These are much better. The detail ones are much better, in my opinion. So hopefully that's taken, but we'll soon find out if there's any areas which haven't quite taken. It looks good. I didn't prepare that either, did I, with the anti-static bag? So that was a little bit foolish of me, but someone is on my side today. Okay, so let's get rid of the excess. Oh, that sounds like a good idea, Penny. I'll try that one as well. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to heat this. Anything to make life easier, right? There's nothing worse when you spent all that time on your main project before applying it to your card blank, and then coming to stick it down, which is pretty much one of the last things you do, isn't it? To find that you've stuck it down straight. And with, sorry, not straight. With wet adhesive, generally you have a little bit of wiggle room, don't you? But when it's double-sided tape, it is a huge risk. So whatever we can do to alleviate that risk, we've got to grab by the balls. Hello, Celine. Oh, behave. It's lovely to have you here. Oh dear, what happened? Is there a small child? It can make you very unwell, can't it? Very little sleep can make you very, very unwell indeed. It can be one of the worst feelings, that sleep deprivation. It's really lovely to have you here. Oh, bless you. I can relate. I can relate. I hope tonight you get a better sleep. Maybe my boring video might help. Right, so I've stamped my image and heat set that. The lack of focus is really a problem this evening. I think it's because I'm using the app, an app, so that I can get a landscape view. I think it's affecting the overall image quality. I can just about see where I've stamped and embossed there, so that enables me now to go back in with my sentiment and do that in the same way that we did before. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment, just for the sake of speed. I will use the same sentiment that I did with the other one. So we'll go with the "I'm sorry for what I said" again. So as I normally do, just let that naturally drop onto the stamping block, and then hopefully that will get it onto that will ensure it's straight as best possible. So we'll just ink that up. Oh, do you know, Celine, this time of year for the spiders, it's terrifying. Some of them are so large, you can actually hear them moving across walls and ceilings. I'm sure I've seen one with tattoos and gold chains on before as well. It's absolutely terrifying. And then when I let my girlie out in the garden prior to, well, I don't do it very often anymore. I can't take credit for that, but I think the reason why I don't do that part anymore, that last wee before bed, is because I'm so worried that I'm going to walk into a spider hanging off a big ugly web somewhere. You break the webs and then you go back the next day, and without a doubt you walk back into another web that they've managed to build in less than 24 hours. But this time of year is terrifying, isn't it, for them? Is it they all come out to mate, don't they? Isn't that a lovely thought? Lots of baby spiders running around. Not sure what's worse, to be honest. Right, so I've stamped those where I wanted them. And then we're just going to give that some embossing powder and hope that I've got those straight. Hopefully someone really is on my side tonight and they are nice and straight. Wow. What did I do to deserve that, eh? I must have been nice to someone today. And this is the universe paying me back. I'll take that. I didn't help any old people across the road today. I didn't donate to charity, so can't think why. Right, let's go. Let's heat set that. That's lovely and quick. A huge contrast to that other heat gun. Always do your research, guys and gals. Always do your research, because the other one was a load of poo. Okay, so we've got the image. Hopefully I'm not going to keep you too long. I think I should be able to get this done quickly. I'm just going to have a drink, excuse me. Sorry, I don't shut up, so I was rather parched. Gelliplate. I want the Gelliplate, don't I? So I'm going to use my scrap card again because the powder, I don't want it on my Gelliplate. Let's lay that down. Right, I knew there was a reason I kept my brushes out. So just popping these away to get them out of the way. And now, as before, why do I feel as though I'm in a huge mess now? I need that. And I need that afterwards, don't I? So I think I'm where I need to be now. Okay, so let's go in with our colours. We'll go the same way as we did before. Top colour on top so it doesn't feel heavy. Sorry, lightest colour on top so it doesn't feel heavy. And then just apply that firmly to what is essentially going to be approximately 1/3 of the overall finished effect. suppose now I'm getting more confident with these, with the Gelliplate. I should get myself some more brayers. That would save a hell of a lot of time cleaning in between applying colours. So again, next colour. So this is Wilted Violet. Doesn't need to be perfect. No perfection required in crafting. Isn't that right? So just lay that down. Oh, okay. So how do you do that, Celine, please? Because the more techniques, the better. So I'm assuming you stamp your image onto your card. And then what, stamp it onto the Gelliplate and then pick up the print from the Gelliplate onto the card. But I'm sure you'll confirm that. I've never done it that way. I've only used vinyl for, sorry, beg your pardon, acetate for that purpose. But that tends to slide about a little bit, so it's not 100% accurate. Again, going in with our last colour, which is Blueprint Sketch. Approximately a third, and then overlapping the previous colour just a little. And then we'll go back in with each of those first two colours and just blend them three colours together. I think I've got a feeling I've subscribed to Sam Calcott but not actually watched any of her videos at the moment. So I'll have to go in and see what I've got. But I am really binging on YouTube lately. I'm really getting a lot out of YouTube. Again, picked raspberry, the first colour, and use that to go in and blend the first and the second colour together. And then just go back and forth. And that will bring the two colours together quite nicely. And then finally, oh goodness, it's such a faff having to clean that each time. This is the last one. And then finally we'll go in with, we don't want the last colour, we want the second to last. So let's pop those out of the way. And the second to last was Wilted Violet. And we'll use that to blend the Wilted Violet and the Blueprint Sketch. That'll do. It's only for demonstration purposes, so it doesn't need to be 100% accurate. Oh, so I'm off screen cleaning this, aren't I? I don't know what's worse, watching me do it. There we go. Get a bit of both now. Right. So pop those aside. Then we can bring in our clear embossed panel, which you can't see, only I seem to be able to. Lovely. And the same as before. Place that so that it picks up as much as all three colours as best possible. And then just give that a good push down. It does get really messy, but what's crafting without a bit of mess? It does tend to grab much of itself, to be honest. So it sucks it in. Lovely. Good job we're not going to see the back, isn't it? And then, oh, you know, I didn't splatter, did I? I didn't do splatter. Oh, never mind. Okay, so it's very similar to the outcome that we had before. Not the splatter that I was going to show you, but we move. Let's just pop that aside so you haven't got to see me doing that as well. Where can I pop that? There we go. So, as you can see, it's resisted much of the area, or can you see because of that focus, it's resisted much of the area that we clear embossed, but again we can enhance that to really bring that colour out, really bring that font, that text out, and the image. I'm looking for my piece of scrap card. That would be on the back of my Gelliplate, wouldn't it? Of course, Dani. Concentrate, girl. Concentrate. There we go. Okay, so in the same way as before, bring back our inks. That was a bit aggressive, wasn't it? And then we'll go over this with the same inks that we used on the Gelliplate. So, picked raspberry. Drag that over. And this sharpens everything, sharpens the colour, enhances the colour, while still maintaining the detail from the Gelliplate. So it's a win-win. Wilted violet for the central part. Now, I have said previously, and I maintain it, I'm not a huge fan of the brushes. I don't think they're all that they're cracked up to be, quite honestly. They are great for stencils with fine detail, or if they're quite a thick, is it mylar? If the stencil's quite thick, then brushes are best suited for that purpose. But beyond that, I'm not a huge fan of them. But I did think that perhaps here it would be a bit more gentle. I didn't want to risk losing some of the detail from the Gelliplate. So for this purpose, they have come in quite handy. So I'm going to go back in with the wilted violet and just tie those two colours together, the wilted violet and the blueprint sketch, and that gives us hopefully now a smoother blend. So you're just doing it one way and then reversing. So that gives that a nice blend, and then we'll go back in with the first colour, the picked raspberry, and then we'll just blend the picked raspberry, getting rid of some of the excess first, the picked raspberry and the wilted violet. And that's giving a really nice blend there. So that's how that now looks. And then finally, we'll go back in with our dry cloth microfiber, and then we'll just brush over all of the card and pick up where the ink is sitting on any of the embossed areas. So I've not stamped it. I did think that might be the case, but I've not stamped and embossed this area too well, so it isn't showing too great, but that's fine. And that's it. And then that really pulls out the text and the line detail much better. There we go. So then all we need to do with that, I'm gonna give my fingers a cheeky wipe on the microfiber as well, because I want to now put that on a card blank and not get that mucky. So again, I've prepped that ahead of tonight's live, and I'll just go back in with some double-sided tape. I'm really disappointed actually that the focus seems to be playing up. You can't have it all, can you, eh? I thought if I go landscape, I downloaded an app so that I could go landscape for tonight's live, and then that would give me more area to work in that's going to be visible by you guys. But I've compromised on the quality. It's really frustrating. However, you get the idea, and then what I will do is, as per always, I will take a picture of the finished cards, and then you will see what it is that I've been harping on about all through this live for yourselves. So I went a bit too far with the tape there, so I'm just going to trim some of that away. Just give that a good impression. Now, we'll do the same trick as before. And just leave parts of each of those double-sided areas exposed on the outside edge so that we can get to them when we apply the panel to our card. I didn't use black either. I resisted using the black layer today, which is quite unusual for me. I just felt it was a bit samey, so I fancied eliminating that. There we go. I think that would do me nicely. So once you know where you want it, you can push it down in one of the areas where the double-sided tape has been exposed, and that gives it something to grab onto while you go around and do the rest. And there we have it. So those are both the product. There we go. Both a product of the Gelliplate. Both one using clear emboss and then ink applied afterwards from the Gelliplate, and one Gelliplate printing done first and then the white embossing done afterwards. So I much prefer the white embossing, but it depends what look you're going for. But I will take a picture of both of those and then you can draw a comparison to see what it is that I've been harbling on about. Okay, well, I'm going to love you and leave you. I've kept you long enough and I'm hungry. So thank you so much for joining. I always appreciate your time. I know it's really precious and I really am grateful for you joining me. I will be back on Tuesdays going forward, unless I say otherwise. But yeah, Tuesdays going forward as a permanent fixture. Have a wonderful evening, the rest of it, and hopefully I'll see you all again soon. Lots of love. Bye.